of Sefer Devarim, the last Chumash in the written Torah, what we call. And Moshe is about 120 years old, and he is about to talk about the whole entire nation. He's talking to the whole entire nation. He's talking to Am Israel in the desert, and he says those things. It's basically he's repeating the whole entire Sefer Torah, which is an unbelievable drasha that he says, in terms of that, which in no way it's been regarded to as the peak of the ability of mankind to speak, in terms of what he was able to accomplish in Sefer Devarim. So Moshe Rabbeinu speaks so many different things. I mean, he talks a lot. If you take the whole Sefer Devarim, he talks a lot. And he gives a speech in front of the whole entire nation that by itself is an unbelievable experience. There are 600,000 men, 20 to 50, which will make the rest of the people there, in the millions. And he's sitting there and talking. Nobody's saying, excuse me, one second, I saw it somewhere else differently. Nobody's disagreeing with him. Nobody has any remarks to say to him. Everybody is anticipating the next word that he's going to say. There are really a complete silence, letting Moshe Rabbeinu speak. In a way, it was a certain take on, I guess, on Matan Torah, given the Torah in Sinai, when no bird was flying here, nobody was talking. You know what it is? Imagine, let's say there's only 600,000 Jews. You know what it is for 600,000 Jews? Somebody is talking like the whole entire Sefer Devarim for whatever amount of time it will take him to say it, and nobody to say a word, nobody to disagree. I mean, that's an amazing thing. And not only that, they're also accepting the tochacha, the rebuke that he's giving them. And he's saying very long things there, and very hard things there. And some of them are even very harsh. And if we'll take into account the fact that, let's be honest, nobody really likes to be rebuked. Still, they're staying there and they take it and it's a mamash pele. It's a miracle that they're able to take it like this. And if we're going to look at this tochecha, what Moshe is telling them, and we could see how is it possible that a nation, a whole entire nation, receive rebuke, receive tochecha, be'ahava, with love. That is something that we should really take a good look at that. And of course, we have to see how it is really connected to us. So I think the focus will be, what we try to do is on that. Because there's something that we always learn, and there's something that we always miss. And I'll try to, God willing, with your permission, try to concentrate on that today, because there's a reason why we're doing it like that. So Sefer Devarim is also called Mishneh Torah. Mishneh Torah, as we always say, it's like a Mishneh Lamelech. Mishneh Lamelech, it's second to the king. It's king's right hand. And Moshe Rabbeinu is the only one who could give such a lofty Torah, such lofty wisdom as it was given in Har Sinai. And he's the only one who's able to do so in such a way, because he is the Mishneh Lamelech. Of course, there is the king, and everybody knows that the king is the king. But then there is the Mishneh Lamelech, his Vazir, his right hand, his second in command, that does everything, and sometimes does things that the king doesn't even bother doing. He's the one who's doing that, and that is basically Moshe Rabbeinu. The call it the Vazir or the second, or Mishneh Lamelech. He does Ratzon HaMelech. He doesn't have his Ratzon. The king's wish is his command, and that's what he does. And he executed. Sometimes the king doesn't even have to say it, and he knows what needs to be done, and he does it. That's Moshe Rabbeinu. And he understands that he's really bound to the king. He's not an individual entity operating. No, he is an extension of the king himself. He's not the king. He's the extension of the king. And that's why Sefer Devarim, we also call it Mishneh Lamelech. And he was sent by the Mishneh Lamelech, Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the loyal servant of Hashem, the most humble person in the world, because only a person like this can do that in such a way. And of course, we have to see how Moshe Rabbeinu is saying what he's saying now, and the timing that he says that, it's unbelievable. I mean, with all due respect, I mean, to everybody, we should all live to 120 years like Moshe Rabbeinu, and so on and so forth. But Moshe Rabbeinu did not walk with diapers, and he had some Filipino pushing him in the thing like this jewel. Like Moshe Rabbeinu was still strong. The Torah says, "Lo nas leicho." It was still, his body was not dry. He still had so-called moisture in his body. He was strong. Hey, he climbed the mountain for crying out loud. 120 years old, the guy climbed the mountain. I mean, most of you guys take escalators. Try to do this. I'm really serious. Try to do so. Every time there is an elevator, you walk. All of a sudden, you appreciate Moshe Rabbeinu, 120 years old, in the desert. Yes, it was in Adar, but it was in the desert, and it's getting very hot there. He climbed a mountain. And yet, he says what he says, and he knows that that's going to be the end. So Sefer Devarim, really the Shekhinah speaks from the mouth from the throat of Moshe Rabbeinu. And we know that Mishnah is the letter of Moshe ve'od Nun. Now it's very important to pay attention to that. Moshe and another Nun. Nun is 50. And the 50 here, we're going to get a little bit Kabbalistic for you guys. 50 refers to the 50th gate, Sha'ar HaChamishim. The 50th gate, whereas 50th gate is associated with what we call Olamad Cherut, the world of freedom, which is really Sfirat HaBina, Chokhmah Bina, right? So that's Bina Sha'ar HaChamishim. And we'll see exactly, maybe in the future and later on, we'll see why specifically Sha'ar HaChamishim and why specifically it was said now. Why was it Dafka with the Knesset Haaretz? They're about entering the land. Why do we have to do so? Why did they have to do so? So we know that Eretz Israel, Am Israel is about to enter, and we know something very simple about Eretz Israel. The land of Israel, not Palestine. The land of Israel is a land that just doesn't get along very well with what we call the pshat, just like externalism. It's a place that demands and requires pnimiyut, internal depth, internal capital, that you have something in it. As much as everything has a chitzoniyut and pnimiyut, everything has an external side and an internal side, so is in the land, in the countries, in the world. So the rest of the land, right, is the chitzoniyut. Eretz Israel is the pnimiyut. Am Israel is the pnimiyut, the internal aspect. The rest of the nations is the chitzoniyut. Now, as much as Am Israel is the internal part, enters Eretz Israel, which is the pnimiyut, he needs to go, Am Israel needs to follow the path of external processes. We need to develop that. And maybe you, by this you could understand why the Torah commends us not to allow the nations to dwell in Israel. Once the Jews enter the pnimiyut of the lands, with themselves being the nations of internal processes, now the nations could not go there, they cannot live there unless they accepted upon themselves Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach and so on and so forth. This is not by all means because of racism or anything else like this. If somebody tells you that he's an absolute moron, he doesn't know what he's talking about. This is a process that needs to be done for tikkun ha'olam. To fix the world, it's like a tire, put it this way. You know, when we used to have tire, but there's the inside of the tire. You need something to hold it. That's the pnimiyut. And that's what the Torah tells us, that the nation should not go there. If they want to stay in Eretz Israel, hey, not a problem. There are certain conditions. Terms and conditions apply. You have to accept Sheva Mitzvot B'nai Noach, you can do this, and so on and so forth. That's why, in the opening words of Moshe Rabbeinu says, Hashem Elokeinu diber eleinu bechorev lemor. God had spoken to us in Chorev, which is Har Sinai, to say, And pay attention to this word, it's very, very cute. Rav lachem. We also spoke about Moshe Rabbeinu, who was telling Rav lachem. Rav lachem shevet bahar hazeh. Now, of course, you could say, okay, it's enough of you sitting in this mountain, yalla, time to go. In other words, because he says, pnu v'seu lachem, uvou hara emori, ve'el kol shchenav ba'arava, בהר ובשפלה ובנגב ובחוף הים. ארץ הכנעני והלבנון עד הנהר הגדול נהר פרת. Those words of the Torah are specific words that indicate to us, besides geography or boundaries, much more than that. We need to analyze that. And Moshe shows us the way how to enter from the chitzoniyut, from the external part, internally inside to the pnimiyut of the Torah, not only doing the mitzvot and living like a Jew outside externally, but really entering the spiritual depth of the Torah, of the ways of mitzvot, of what does it mean to be a Jew, and so on and so forth, the life of a Jew. Not on the surface, inside. To the point in which I've been telling you time and time again, in a way, you could live, whatever you do could become Torah. How does it mean? Well, now you know. You seek the internal part of everything. Since the Torah is the pnimiyut, therefore you could do almost everything in the world and make it in the pnimiyut, turn it into Torah. That's why I keep telling you, Judaism, to be a Jew, is not joining a club. It's a life form. It's a way of life. You need to eat like a Jew, dress like a Jew, walk like a Jew, think like a Jew. Not like an Egyptian, like a Jew. It's a song from the 80s before you guys were born. Anyway, so it says, Al tishvu bahar hazeh. Don't sit in this mountain like in Har Sinai. Because Chorev is the pshat of the Torah. Chorev is the klipa. In this place, go, seu lachem. Go to all the madregot, all the levels, all the way until you reach the Harapat. That's the pnimiyut of the Torah. Now you should know that, for example, that the gematria of Chorev is, of course, not to forget, is 216. And that is Elokim imadi, God is with me. And it's also the gematria Bechol Tzad. 216 is God is with me in every step. Once we receive the Torah, God is with us everywhere we go. Now don't worry, I'm with you. But now you need to go for other places. You're going to take this Torah and you're going to go to the Lebanon, to the Arava, to here, to all the way in the Arprat, all the way inside. And only after you do so, after you reach the pnimiyut of the Haaretz. And that's why he told Abraham Avinu, Na vanati eba, you're going to go places, you go here, lech v'italech, kum v'italech ba'aretz. Get up, again, kum v'italech ba'aretz. By the way, I'm just going to tell you the following. That's what bothers me, on a different level. What bothers me with people, for example, go to a year in Israel and so on and so forth. They don't bother to walk in the land. If for example, you're going to marry someone, right? You need to know the person you're marrying. You're going to know what they like and what they don't like and how it is and what they sneeze and what they sleep, and right? How are you supposed to, quote unquote, fall in love with the land if you haven't gone anywhere? All you go is to this yeshiva, to that yeshiva, or from that to the airport and out. You think it's a great thing. I'll tell you it's a good thing, but it's not a great thing. A great thing will be that you should walk in the land, start to discovering your land. Get to know your people. Yes, I know you're an American and the Israelis, but you're all Jews. You don't believe me? Ask your common goy. He will tell you that. You need to do it. So hopefully next time when you go to Israel, when we're able to fly back, make sure to, there's other places. Listen, Jerusalem is my love. Tzfat also is my love. I have a lot of loves in Israel. But I'm going to tell you this, everything is my love in Israel. I mean, you're going to tell your wife, oh, listen, I love you. You say, oh yeah, what do you love about me? Yeah, I like your eyes. How about my head? Nah, bad. You understand? Fall in love with the country. Get to know it. Get to know the country. Go to the mountains, go walk, hike, go to the market, see the people, develop the kesher through your feet. In the army we said, "Ma shelo nichnas derech harash, nichnas derech haregel." Right? If you don't understand what I'm telling you, I'm going to make you walk it and you'll understand it. So walk. If you can't feel a connection to the land, fall in love. You know how beautiful it is to sit on a cliff on the Mediterranean right about sunset, having yourself a nice beer in your hand and just looking at the sunset or having a little fish with Hawaii. I mean, it's terrific. Why you've been missing? You're missing everything. The breeze that comes, or beautiful starry night in the desert. Oh my goodness, I can speak for hours for this. I love the place. It's my home. It's my pnimiyut. So we need to really understand it. So on that aspect, on that tone, if you really want to settle down in Eretz Israel, and Rabotai, look what happened to us. In order to settle down in Eretz Israel, you have to live Chaim shel pnimiyut. You have to live internal lives. You have to look for the ruchniyut in everything. Once we lost it, we started to slowly lose the land. You don't believe me? Go look at the processes that happened in the years since they started to come back to Israel, right? To the land of Israel, let's say 1917 and on, and see, the more we wanted to fall in love with the land, the more land we got. As soon as we became a little bit different, we had enough, we started to lose the land. Slowly. And that's what it is. So what Moshe Rabbeinu wants to do, he wants to elevate the people at one shot from where they are to the 50th gate. He wants to elevate Klal Israel, everybody. And what he's talking about, there were not necessarily phenomena of individuals. The whole nation did that. And these are things that happen because of the reality of the Klal, where they betrayed God and they got angry and so on and so forth. That's something that everybody had. And regardless of that, we're talking about Moshe Rabbeinu, which is the peak of the nations and so on and so forth. Yes, he's a wonderful person, but how he's able to do so? Again, how he was able to mesmerize a whole nation for days. I mean, it takes time. You can't say it over 24 hours in such a matter. So Rabbeinu Chachamim explained that Moshe Rabbeinu was able to create with Am Yisrael a very, very deep connection. He was able to bring everybody to him. So therefore the question is, and by the way, if you have a shul that people leave the shul and they don't come back, well, pay attention to what I'm telling you now. If you have somebody in your family that is drifting away from you, well, you better pay attention to what I'm saying to you now. Moshe Rabbeinu does this, and the only way, or maybe should I say the only and best way to do so, to bring one to the other, is to reveal your love to him or to them. Love will bring us together, as they say. Because it says in Sefer Mishlei, Kemayim hapanim lepanim kelev ha'adam la'adam. You know, if you're going to be able to bring things together, and the only way to do so is through the aspect of love. When one person loves the other, what happens is the other person loves him in return. You feel it, it's honestly. So love is very sticky matter. You know, it contagious, you know, it attaches and so on. You feel it right away. You could even get control of situation of people with love. You know, we always think about having control as not being this tyrant or dictator or dictatorship and to control the people, passive aggressive. That's not what I'm talking about. That kind of control and ruling always fell apart, whether it's controlling people or not with today. You know, it's really hard here. That's what happens when you talk too much. Whether it's controlling, Jonathan, can you do me a favor, honey? Can you open the window in the back? Whether it's controlling people or controlling countries, when it's done in that manner, it doesn't last a long time. Look at the Soviet Union, you know, it didn't happen. But we're talking about here about something completely different. What I'm talking about is ruling of love. when you control things because of love, that's something that stays a long time. And the best discipline is to have things working, is the discipline of love. And because if somebody loves you and he makes you feel that, and he's not embarrassed to say it, you would tend to listen to him. Mishmat milshon lishmoa, not only discipline, also lishmoa. So I'm listening to you because I know you care about me. So I don't have a problem with you. But when I think that you're not so pure, you want to manipulate me, right away, what am I going to do? I'm going to put in my hands up, say, hey, buddy, take it easy. I'm not going to, when I feel that you want to embrace me because you really care about me, I would embrace you too. I would not, go like that. And we need to understand that. And if you want to, be with someone, so love them. And then, if you feel that the other person loves you too, so what is there for you to do? Love him more. Love him more. Care about him more. Again, we are not talking about control from a negative aspect. We're talking about control of a person to be able to make him listen to you, to understand that you care about him, to guide him to the right path or on the right path. So he won't stumble, so he would appreciate it. If you see a person that is about to stumble or something, you're going to let him fall, say, oh, shit, I didn't want to bother you. It's like, your own thing. No, he's going to tell, what did you tell me? It's the same thing here. And there are different warnings about it, whether it's lifnei ivel, and so on and so forth. Now you understand, by the way, now you might understand what does it mean? That's the whole entire Torah on one leg. It's all about love. So if people run away from you, is maybe you do feel love for them, but for whatever reason, you were not able to truthfully express it to them, so they would feel it as well. So they'll stay with you. They're running away from you. Or they don't feel loved. Even kids that usually break away from their parents. Every kid needs to break away from his, but there are different ways to break away from the parents. If they feel that the father or the mother really love them, they're not going to break away from them. They're going to rebel in a different way. Everybody has to know. So the father drinks whiskey, the son will drink bourbon. Well, let's summarize it at that. It doesn't have to go and put a nose ring and, I don't know, whatever they put in. So it says in the story that there are 50 gates of holiness as much as there are 50 gates of impurity. And it's written that each of one of them were given to Moshe besides one. That's why it says, V'tachsereu me'at mi'elokim. As it says in Tehillim, Psalms 8 verse something, I don't know, in the beginning, 5, 6, 7, one of those verses over there. V'tachsereu me'at mi'elokim. Make him a little bit less than God. What is that? That is the 50th. That's the 50th gate, and that's Sfirat Habinah. The Sfirat Habinah, Hashem Elokim, Yud Kei Vav Kei Elokim, represents by Sfirat Habinah. Moshe Rabbeinu was able to reach this gate just before his death. Just before his death, and that's why it says that he died. Where? What's the mountain that it's called? Har Nevo. Har Nevo, if you take Nevo, Nun Bet Vav, Nun Bo, 50 in him. Har Nevo, 50 in him. In other words, at that time, he was able to reach the 50th gate. He completed the whole cycle. Now, Nevo, Gematria 58. Guess what? The Gematria 58. It says in Tikkunei Zohar, I think, Daf Kuf Yud Gimel, if I'm not mistaken, it says that Moshe Rabbeinu was what? Was a nice man. No, it was a Gilgul of Noach. Noach, Gematria 58. He went to Har Nevo, he completed the cycle. His tikkun was perfect. He was supposed to fix the world during the time of Noach, even though I don't hold my Gilgulim, but it's something for you to think about. Ari's looking at me like, why are you saying Gilgulim, But still, Noach should have done it. He didn't do it. Moshe Rabbeinu, HaKadosh Baruch Hu took him, put him to the side. Remember when Noach was? What did Noach build? A teva. Where did they put Moshe Rabbeinu? Teva. Okay? You see, there is a, Yonatan likes it. Agil Golim, you like over there? So that's, look at Tikkunei Zohar, Tikkun Zayin, I think, kind of Daf Kuf Yud Gimel, something of that sort over there. So it says, Rabotenu explained to us, the Chamishim, 50th, is not another number. It's not like 49 plus 1. The Shara Chamishim is an entity all by itself. It's a new reality. There are 49 stages. Each one is different. The distance between one and the other is also different. Each one to its own, and so on and so forth. But in the 50th gate, the main difference is, and you can go one after the other, and you can skip. Once you enter the 50th gate, it's something that includes everything. They call it Sha'ar HaKolel, the gate that includes everything. That you don't see any differences. There's no machloket, there's no chilukim. And in other words, you see everything not on if you look at us, right? We are all different. Some are good looking, some are, like this, some like that. Men, women, mad dogs and Englishmen. When you reach the Shara Chamishim, you're able to see everything as whatever divine part is in it as a part of a whole. Everything it includes everything. And that's something that in a way, sometimes we could kind of go in and go out. Sometimes you realize and you think about it, you have this like a momentary glimpse of enlightenment that you understand that God exists in everything. So you kind of got to look into the 50th gate and then close it out because you didn't want to go inside and say, this guy is black, this guy is white, this is a woman, that's a man, that's this, that's that. Everything Yetzir Kapav Shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Everything God created. Even if I made it, God created it. So when you enter this, there's no difference. We need to be able to enter the 50th gate so we can enter the land as one nation. And that's something that is very, very, very important. When you enter there, everything is like an ensof, endless. There's no beginning, no end. It's all one thing, one unit. The 50th gate is a place that there's no darkness and light, because over there, even the darkness shines light. And these are concepts in which you have to think about. When you enter the 50th gate, it's a place that you can speak about tochecha and give a rebuke to people, because people understand that it comes from a place of love. So when Moshe Rabbeinu speaks to them before he's dead, he's talking from the 50th gate. He's talking from Sha'ar HaChamishim, from that level that he reached, as it says, Ele hadvarim asher diber Moshe el kol Israel. Again, the numerical value of kol, chaf and lamed, is 50th, is 50. Kol Israel. Now, on top of that, ele is the letters of Leah as well. And Leah represents two Sfirah of Binah. And Binah, of course, as we said before, is Sha'ar HaChamishim. So you have to understand at where Moshe is talking, and that's how he was able to do so. The 50th get is also parallel or represented by what we call tshuva mi'ahava. When a person does tshuva mi'ahava, for whatever reason, he was somewhere in, I don't know where the popular place everybody goes to, Thailand, Phuket in Thailand, or like this, party doing acid and this. All of a sudden he says, Ribono shel olam, ma ani oseh? Ribono shel olam, chatati, aviti, please, Abba. He makes tshuva me'ahava, zorek et hakol v'chozer le'Abba. That's tshuva me'ahava. That's the 50th gate. That's the highest level a person can reach. Make sure you stay there. You don't go down. Don't close the door. Walk out of there, because it is a lifetime to go in. Sometimes, as the Gemara says, Yesh koneh olamot b'sha'ah achat. In the split of a second, a person can buy his world. If you understand that, at that moment, you feel like all the barriers that happened, that existed between you and God, are gone. That's called tshuva me'ahava. Not because of fear of hell, or not from the pleasures of heaven. It's because of love, purity. And again, love, as we always say, the numerical value of love is echad, one. When you feel one with God, one, echad, love is one. Love is not an affection term, or represented by lust. Love is not sex. Love is not nothing. Love is feeling one. The sign of difference. לאהוב כל אחד ואחד מישראל כגופו, to love each and every one from the Jews like he loved himself, to love his wife like he loves himself, like she's a part of me. How can I cheat on her? How can I treat her not nice? She's me. That's love. When you understand that all the barriers that you had between you and Ribono Shel Olam are barriers that not God put there for you. You put there for yourself. God is not hiding. He's out in the open. The problem is we're closing our eyes and turning them back. That's Shara Chamishim. That's called what we call Tshuva Ila'ah, superior form of Tshuva. At that level, kol ha'avonot, all your sins, all the barriers that you put in between God, because every time you made a sin, you said, God does not exist for me today, so I'm doing Avera. All those things became all schuyot. That's why from this place, Moshe Rabbeinu can count and say all the sins that Bnei Israel did because he comes from love. And by doing so, from speaking from this place, he himself, look what he's doing. This guy is amazing. I mean, you cannot fall in love with Moshe Rabbeinu. He himself elevated himself to this gate, spoke to them in such a way that even all their avonot, the avonot of Am Yisrael, turn into schuyot so they can enter the land clean. That's why you were saying to them, and they listened, and they understood it, and they accepted it. So if we tell people something and we see that people are not shomer Shabbat or not doing what they're supposed to be doing, it's because we don't come from love. And believe me, people would feel it. People would feel when you speak from the, that's what, how do we say it in Spanish? Que sale de la alma, toca la alma. Whatever goes from the heart touches the heart. So people feel it right away. People know if you're full of it or not. You're always full of something. Make sure you're full of love. And that's something, there's no vacuum. Make sure you're 100% from love. There's no ulterior motive besides love. Love is oneness. I see you as me. I care about you as I care for myself. And since that Dibur comes from the Shara Chamishim that includes everything together, Moshe Rabbeinu can speak to everybody in the way of love. And he does it, it's masterful the way he does it. Moshe brings them back to the level in which they were in Har Sinai. In Har Sinai, HaKadosh Baruch Hu spoke to them, and they also were in the 50th gate. I told you, you can go back and close the door. They're also in the 50th gate. They were in a state of Vayichan Sham Israel, Lo Am Israel, Israel. In other words, when they camped in Har Sinai, there were one nation, one body, one entity. There was no me and you. Now you understand why it's so horrible when there are people who put division among us, they put a wedge inside of us. That's why the Torah hates it. That's, by the way, why Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. There was me and you. There was you and me. There was not us. And we need to understand that. So they were on that level. And the same thing here. At the last moments of Moshe Rabbeinu, the last hours, he was able to reveal and give us an example of tremendous love, of his great love and caring to Am Yisrael. And by doing so, he is the leader. Rabotai, pay attention. I know you all do, but I can't tell you how important it is. His true love to his people was able to unify them together. His great love to them was what enabled them to reveal the unity. And they all were united around Moshe Rabbeinu. And that's the job of a leader. The job of the leader is to lay down on the fence for his people, not for the people to serve him. He serves the people. He gives them an example. He talks to them from love. He cares about them truthfully, not just, oh, I love you all and this, and please, don't forget to write the checks. He doesn't talk like that. That's not his business. He comes from the 50th gate, the highest gate of that a person can enter. Spirituality, the highest level he can enter. And that's the same level he was able to bring them, and the same level they were in Har Sinai when they received the Torah, when HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave to them. And that's why at this point, it's called Torah Moshe. Moshe was able to do to Am Yisrael what God did to them. And as much as HaKadosh Baruch Hu loves Am Yisrael, so did Moshe Rabbeinu love Israel. That's why the Torah is called Torah Moshe. We don't call it the Torah of God. We call it Torah Moshe. And that's something amazing. Complete unity. Complete unity. No Sfaradim, no Ashkenazim, no secular Jews, no Hasidim, Litayim, nada. Israel. And we need to remember this. We need to see, and we need to understand that we need to see reality in a higher level. Let's step up our game in the way we look at reality. Rabotai, please, we are right now almost Tisha B'Av. Next week. Can you do me a favor? Anybody is willing to do me a favor? Who is not willing to do me a favor? Eliyahu? Oh. I'm asking you a favor. Could you please at least try, not to, especially you, not to listen to the news. Somebody sent you a thing on WhatsApp, Chuck, don't listen to anything, good or bad, nothing, between now and Rosh Hashanah. It's not a big deal. It's not even 2 months. We already took 9 days. And don't forget, you have Shabbat in the middle. Please, don't listen to the news. Don't listen to the weather. Not 10 wins and not 20 lose. Nothing. Nothing. No Bloomberg, nada. 1 month. Month and a half. Okay, until Rosh Hashanah. And then come back to me, tell me how you feel. During this time, try to look at things different. Work on your pnimiut. Don't say, oh, God, I can't wait to turn on CNN. I can't wait to read the New York Times or Washington Compost. I can't. Don't feel that. Have a little change in your life. Their attitude is always to make you look bad, to make you go in Sharet Tum'ah. As much as you hear, you could be there. Zeh keneged zeh. Please, until Rosh Hashanah, I'm not asking for much. And I'm not a ZZ Top song, right? When I'm asking Bemet, then try it. Try it like this. Try to look at life a little bit different from a higher level. And Moshe Rabbeinu says to them, listen, I open you a gate to be able to see the land. I'm showing you that those people, and again, this is very important to us, those people that you consider to be heroes. Remember when we sent the Meraglim, the spies, he said, all the heroes, there's such big zeros, there's Moshe Rabbeinu said to them, guys, I'm showing you everybody here, all these people that you were afraid, all the people that because of them you spent around the desert for 40 years. I'm going to show you them. They're weak. They're weak. And the reason why they lift their hands, and the reason that we became weak is not because they're strong. It's because of a different reason. Am Yisrael always lived with many enemies around them. Always did, always will. There are billions of people in the world that they've never even met a Jew in their life, and they still hate Jews. Billions of people like that. Maybe it's not nice to hear. Maybe it's not nice to acknowledge that. But there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can do about it. And there is a rule, some kind of an axiom or rule in spirituality, is shehakatan mitbatel bifnei hagadol. The small one becomes insignificant to the large one. And all we see, every time we see that the Goyim became stronger and more potent, and they became, elevate themselves, it's not because of something they do, it's rather because something we do, and what we do make ourselves smaller. You want to look at the, I'll give you an example. I get political, I don't really care. I'm talking about history. Do you know who made Hamas? The Jews. You know who made the Palestinian Authority into an entitled body? The Jews. We did. And all of a sudden, it's something we have to reckon with. We have to deal with them. Who made the Hezbollah someone? We did. Who made the Arabs so powerful? We did. When we said, listen, I don't care how big you are, I'll poke you in the eye, like David HaMelech to Goliath. Hey, nobody stood in our way. You know how many millions of Arabs fought us in 1967, 1973? So we could. What happened afterwards? We made ourselves smaller. We are the oppressors. We are occupiers. And then with slingshot and rocks, that causes Intifada 1, Intifada 2, Intifada 3, 4, 5, until we said, okay. We'll give you whatever you want. If you'll ask any Native American, what's his idea for peaceful land, he will tell you a very bad idea. We did peaceful land. Oh, don't bully us. Don't throw rocks. I mean, we have nuclear bombs, but don't throw rocks at us, please. We're back. You will be friends. You made yourself small, they became big. P1 equals P2. Physics, Rabotai. Right? That's the way it is. Don't blame them. Blame yourself. So sometimes we said, okay, let's exchange. What is it that we have? What do we get for being the chosen people, right? Oh man, maybe we'll switch a little bit. From that, we only have tzarot and headaches and hardship. Let's switch. Why should we make all of a sudden we become like super, I don't know, like GLM, going life manner, I don't know, whatever it is. Everybody is okay, right? It's not about racism, you don't understand. It's not about feeling superior to others. We all were created b'tzelem Elokim, in the image of God. Not only are you not allowed to kill a man or to enslave another human, you're not allowed to kill animals for fun. I told you this before, Jews are not allowed to go hunting. So it's not about feeling superior race. By all means, no. By all means, no. It's something completely different. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you're going to be the chosen people. And that's what God is. Chosen because I chose you to do a certain task. And what happens when we say that? We don't appreciate ourselves. We don't appreciate ourselves. We humiliate ourselves. And then you want the nations to appreciate you, to respect you. You don't respect your own nation. You don't respect your own traditions. You don't respect who you are. And you wonder why they don't respect you? How could you demand somebody to respect you when you don't bother to respect yourself and who you are and what you represent? And it's an oxymoron. I did not say, and I would not say, feel superior to them. Because we know that a Goy can become a Jew, a Gentile can become a Jew. And what happens when he becomes a Jew? He takes a part in the mission that we were given. Sometimes we feel it's mission impossible, but look at what's his name, Tom Cruise. He's like 50 years old, still jumping out of airplanes. You could do it. You join it. You want to be a Jew? Not a problem. Come inside. Come and do it. And we have a job to do. And this job could be done only through keeping the mitzvot, doing the mitzvot. The mitzvot are the excavation tools that we are supposed to be doing. There is a mountain in front of us, and then we're given tools. Well, you can't break it with your hands. I don't care if you like Bruce Lee's grandfather. You cannot break a mountain with your fists. Don't give us tools. That's a mitzvot. Different tools. That's why, if you pay attention, lack of willingness to do the mitzvot and to keep the Torah always goes along with wanting to be like the nations. It goes hand in hand. And the solution is that Am Yisrael should really be more respected, right? So we won't live in fear all the time. We don't have to fear the war, the world, and so on and so forth. And that's why the Jews, first of all, have to respect themselves. Each and every one of us respect our heritage and who we are, to stop becoming apologetic to the fact that we were given a job to do. Why do we always have to apologize about who we are? I mean, sometimes we apologize for the fact that we can't exist. So when Am Yisrael is going to recognize its value and is going to come into realization of its wisdom and its beauty and so on and so forth, the nations will respect us as well. And it's not for us to control the nations so we will have slaves and so on. Absolutely not. This is not a dictatorship. This is not what an Am Sgula does. The only reason is that we'll be able to control the people in the world from love, to guide them, so we will be worthy to become the channel pipe, the water main of abundance to the whole creation, of bringing the divine light to creation. That's all about. We are responsible not only to ourselves as Jews, we are responsible for the whole entire world. And you see, Jews open hospitals and charities and universities and so on and so forth. Jews give people to the enemy, money to the enemies. Because that's implanted in all of us, and that's what we need to do. So the Parashat touches us right before, and I'm about to finish. The Parashat touches us right before Tisha B'Av. And in Tisha B'Av, the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed twice. The last time was really because of Sinat Chinam. And we spoke about Sinat Chinam previously beforehand. And they call us the generation of redemption, but we also the generation of Churban, of destruction, because we still did not understand or were willing to comprehend the fact that if we don't build Beit HaMikdash, we end up destroying it, because we haven't learned the lessons of the past of self-hatred and lack of unity among us. And everything that we do today and we live today is a result of that hatred, of that churban that we're not able to stop. And this is so, we're in such a low place that we don't even acknowledge the loss that we have of loss of Jews into non-existence, into intermarriage and so on and so forth, or not keeping mitzvot, the lack of the land, the loss of the land, the loss of the Beit HaMikdash, and so on and so forth. We don't understand. And here comes, Dafka now is the time, I think, to bring us back, to put the spotlight back on our sources that we need and what needs to be recovered, what needs to be dealt with, what needs to, needs more caring internally as us as people and as a nation as well. We have to make a cheshbon nefesh. We have to understand what we need to fix, and that's why I said to you, in Elul, we need to evaluate what needs to be fixed in Elul in Av. That's why if you listen to so much chatter around, and so much radio, and so much, you're not going to be able to fix anything. You continue with everybody else. Before we're going to be able to before we, God forbid, reach the point of no return, before we do that, because then you can't return anymore. You enter the 50th gate of Tum'ah, you can't come out of it anymore. And we're hovering around those gates for quite a long time. We need to make sure not to fall. We need to understand, to awaken us again, love for a fellow human being, to a fellow Jew, to appreciate and to love Am Yisrael. We have to appreciate Torah Israel, to teach us what is the true discipline of sitting in Eretz Israel. What a beautiful chelek, what a beautiful schut in our generation we have that we can free, besides this Corona thing. But you got to think about this as well, to go to Eretz Israel whenever you wanted. There were Chachamim who were dying to go to Eretz Israel, they couldn't. You just go on a plane, you go to the Kotel, not a problem. As a kid, I remember that you couldn't go to Yerushalayim. My grandparents' neighborhood was right across the Chumah. So when I was a child, I could not go visit my grandparents because the Jordanian was shooting at us. Later on, after 67, I would walk there like a sheriff, not a problem. All of a sudden, I'm afraid to go to Yerushalayim, to the old city. Why? Because I made myself small again. And that's what we need to understand. It cannot happen like this anymore. We need to appreciate again the fact that we're special people, special nation, in a special land, with a clear message, with a clear job, what to do, with a clear purpose. We need to understand that we are a nation that needs love, and we need to love one another. The whole entire Sefer Devarim is called Mishnah Torah, as we said before. Mishnah, the same thing as Neshama. Mishnah, Neshama is also the same thing. Our Torah is the Neshama of Am Yisrael. We have the Torah that we receive in Har Sinai, and there's the Mishnah Torah that we receive from Moshe. The Torah Shebe'al Peh help us dismantle the Klippah, and that's why Torah Shebe'al Peh is so important. We don't understand some of the things that Torah. If we did not have the oral Torah, we would not understand most of the written Torah. So the Torah Shebe'al Peh comes to break away the shell of the Torah Shebichtav, so we could able to digest it and actually execute it. That's why we say, Chevruta or Mituta. Either you learn Torah Shebe'al Peh or it's death for you. A Jew that doesn't know what to do, it's like death. It's like death sentence. The only thing is that the Torah is able to bridge one person to the other, to bring about true love between Ben Adam lechavero. And this is why, by the way, the Yetzer Hara is trying to do whatever he can in his power to make you not to learn. Whatever he can in his power to prevent you from learning. And that is something very important to understand. And just I want to give you a quick Gematriot, because I know you love Gematriot, about the number 50. Gematria 50 is boy-like, come to me. Also, Gematria 50 is Begilah, come to me with joy, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is telling you. Come to me Bechayil, with strength. Come to me Belibi, in the heart. Bemoach, with the sechel. The Gematria of Lev is also heart, right? Heart is 32. 32 path of wisdom that came to this world. The Gematria of 50 extends beyond what we know. I'm not going to tell you the whole entire thing. We need to daven Arvi. The Gematria of Lev Chai, by the way, is also 50. With a living heart. So you take all this. Kadosh Baruch Hu says to me on the 50th, come to me to the 50th gate. Come to me. Come to me with joy, with strength, with an open heart, with a live heart, with everything you have. Rejoice on Hashem. Rejoice on the Torah. I really hope we have time. Tisha B'Av is on Wednesday. We could still change it. I do believe 100%. I do believe we could still change it. And it would start with us, and it would start now with love to one another, with love to Hashem, with the love to Torah. So, Rabotai, I'm calling upon all of you. Please, as I said to you before, try not to listen to any news. Try to, within this time, not only to come and learn to Yeshiva, each and every one of you. You don't have to learn with me. There are plenty of other people, Baruch Hashem, here to learn with. Come learn with one another. Bring a friend, care about him. Try to speak only good. Not only about Jews, about everything. Only good. And Be'ezrat Hashem, this Tisha B'Av, we might be able to be there. We might be able to be there. We don't know. I do believe so. We can change. Any given moment we could apply change. So Rabotai, don't fall into despair. Don't fall into negativity. Bring yourself up. Rejoice. Be proud. Be proud of who you are and what we have. And Be'ezrat Hashem, HaKadosh Baruch Hu will give us salvation. Shabbat Shalom. Ari, just do me a favor. Take a picture with